Welcome back to another episode of Keeping It a Bean. Keeping It a Bean is a podcast that brings together conversation and culture all over a cup of coffee. But in tonight's case, we got some tea in hand. If you are new here, my name is Marquise Davon, but never Mark. Please don't do it. I'll kick you in your face. My leg does go that high. It might be a little sore today, though. But we out here. Because niggas are going to try and call me old again. Remember who signed your paycheck. Okay? Because niggas got laughing too quick. Okay, a little jokey joke.
That escalated quickly.
Because niggas be laughing. But if you are returning... You said what?
I can't laugh now.
Who said that?
What?
Oh, you're right. I don't want no smoke, though. You're right. I don't want no problems.
Mind the business that pays you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, let me stop messing with you. I'm just kidding, y'all. I'm a really good boss. Right, Kavan? Oh, wow. He comes in my office every day to bother me. Anyways, that's behind the scenes. If you are returning, you already know what the deal is. Hello to niggas and niggas only. Welcome back to the space. It is good to see y'all. If you want to support this here podcast, you can do so in one of two ways. You can do so monetarily. That was crazy. Non-monetarily.
Yep. I think.
You know what? I said words. I got it. You said what? I know. There's a first time for everything. I'm just kidding. I fuck up all the time.
Players fuck up too.
Okay, just gotta let the people know. Stop playing. If you want to support me non-monetarily, you can do so in many ways, but please, the word of mouth is still the most important one. So tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. You can also do so by sharing any of the clips that you see on Instagram. Please make sure to leave comments as well. But also, if you are listening to this podcast, please make sure to leave a rate and review. Do not be a hater. Give me 5 stars. 5. Thank you. Gotta let the people know. But this way, this is the best way to help podcasters because on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, it helps to show up on the algorithm a lot more. And if there are podcasts that you like, they would most likely recommend mine as well. I would love to be on those lists and those different playlists too. So please make sure to support podcasters that way. However, if you're looking at these two very lovely faces here on camera, that means you're watching on a Sunday morning, hopefully on YouTube. And that means that you are able to hit that like, subscribe, and notification bell as well. Please make sure to leave a comment down in the comment section below. That was crazy. I said comments twice like that, but you knew what to do.
Well, it's Grandma, you in the comments, I made it to church. I wasn't a heathen.
That he's being a good human. Shout out to Grandma. Stop playing with him. Now, me, that's brunch hours, so I might be a little bit of a different story. But that's nothing here nor there. Okay, I'm sorry. Aunt Eula, don't watch this. My family from down south, it's a little different.
That's real.
But yeah, and if you want to support me monetarily, you can do so by going to patreon.com/marquisedavon. That's MarquiseDavon. You can give me as little as $2 a month, which is $24 a year. Some of y'all are still not using your Planet Fitness accounts. I might be talking to myself right now, and that is okay. It's been 4 weeks. I should do better. You said what? Look at you. You can do conversions. Come on, I don't know what's going on today. It's not me, I swear. It's paycheck. But please make sure that you are also able to invest in me. There you can get early releases of videos as well as discounts to any events or merch that I am doing out in 2025. And there will be a few to be on the lookout for. If you are watching this, then that means I have already announced the fact that I am launching a coffee blend called Leroy's. It's named after my Pop Leroy, so I'm excited to be able to honor his legacy in that way. But also, that means my Good Morning to Niggas and Niggas Only mug is also out. Shut up, Daniel. Damn, see? Damn, Daniel.
This is how my version gonna start.
I'm sorry. They're comfortable now.
Wow.
They're comfortable now. Wow.
Well,
we respect you, man. We respect you.
What's in y'all tea?
I don't know. It just hit a little different. But if you would like me to speak on a panel, moderate a panel, or do a workshop, a lot of the topics that I cover surround education, Black masculinity, SEL, podcasting, creative entrepreneurship. So please feel free to contact me for that as well. I'll make sure to leave all of the descriptions and all the links in the... You said what?
In the comments.
No, in the description box below this time. Come on, nerd. Do that.
My bad.
Dang, that's crazy. See, niggas swear.
Players fuck up too.
And they do. Wow. And you see? Duality. We here.
But
oh Lord, it's gonna be a good episode. Nah, so that's all the administrative stuff. Getting the fuck out of the way. I appreciate y'all being here on this show. And dog, I am hyped for this conversation because this is the most inside nigga I've ever met in my life. But this man is a good friend, a brother, somebody I look to as well. This is somebody who enjoys nature, a product of Philadelphia, but a man wiser than some of the people that I respect the most. And so, one, I appreciate you being here. I'm excited for my audience to be able to get to know you. But y'all, please give it up for Ray. Pace. Yeah. Okay, let's do the audience clap. Okay, we love to see it.
we love to see it.
Dogs, down to the fashions, down to the intellect, down to the music taste, down to you being outside. There's so many things to get into with this conversation.
That's good.
But welcome to the show. How you feeling?
I'm good, man. I'm excited to finally be here. I feel like we was out one night and we talked about this, and I think we might have had a good night. And so memories like left us, but I'm happy to be here. Circle back. I'm proud of you. To see the growth, to see the authenticity, and just the stick to itness.
Yeah.
Which is a thing that I think people have lost sight of. Like, you gotta stick to some things and see them through.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna stop there. But I'm good. I'm happy to be here, bro.
No, and I appreciate that because I remember the message you sent. Probably this had to be a few months ago, but you had sent a message to me just explaining like, thank you for being you and always like sticking to who you are. And that really hit me because it was just a good grounding moment for me as well. So like when I tell you like those kind of comments really do mean a lot. Like, one, thank you for that.
That's right.
And thank you for seeing me.
For sure.
So I appreciate you. But the people are gonna get to know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get into like the fullness of this conversation, because there are so many different avenues that we can take this conversation, and just the value I know you are going to bring just by simply telling your story is gonna be insane, dog. I'm excited. Like when I knew today I was gonna have 2 really solid episodes.
Yeah.
Like some of the best. And I'm like excited because I'm just like, that's the fun part about podcasting is like hearing the stories, but just knowing like giving that to an audience is gonna be so worth it in so many different ways. And so before we get into the full episode, we're gonna hit you with a little icebreaker real quick.
Yeah.
Okay. You know this. You were an educator. And so we use this. This is the
Just wrote one yesterday.
Okay, look. Oh, period. This is the Keeping in the Bean segment. So Keeping in the Bean is your hot take around anything personal, pop culture, politics, whatever is on your spirit. And you're like, I need to get this off my chest.
Yeah.
It's getting off my chest right now. What are you keeping in the bean about today?
I think that the thing I've been sitting with the most was like, all we have is our now. All we have is the now, and to be a really good steward of your now.
Yeah.
Right. Me and my boy was just talking about this, because life is always going to do what life does. It's going to have ebb and flows. It's going to have peaks and it's going to have valleys. But it's what you do to remain constant. Right. You don't get to determine how life lifes, but you get to determine how you show up. And we're blessed with so many opportunities that I think that we miss because we're trying to live outside of the time and the balance of life.
You're real loud right now.
And so all you have is the right now. Be a good steward of your now and what life is teaching you about yourself. Like, take inventory of what's making you happy. Take inventory of the people that like fills your cup. Take inventory of like how you feeling when you eating certain things, right? Start being a little bit more intentional about who you are as a person, because that helps you maintain that balance throughout all of life's peaks and valleys.
Yeah.
That was off the top.
That was off top.
Why won't we say
That was off top.
That's another round of
That was off top. That was off top. Yeah, it gets a little bit easier when you start living it.
Not truly. But it's funny because literally like Markel and Kavan and I were having a little bit of this conversation on the way here, because I was talking around. I was like, my journey to education was non-linear. Like it was not in the cards for me. Yeah. And I was also the kid at 16 who said, by 22, I'm going to graduate college. By 27, I'm going to have my PhD. By 30, I'm going to be married. By 35, I'm going to have a kid. By this. And then life lifed.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, I can't be like, when I didn't hit my first milestone, I was just like, okay, well, maybe the next one's going to hit. And I realized by 22, I'm just like, I'm not even appreciating the fact that I'm the first of my family out of 5 siblings, the middle of 5 siblings, to graduate from college, to graduate from high school, right? I'm not appreciating the fact that I was able to study abroad in a different way that my siblings did not have the privilege to in that moment, right? And there was something around it where I was just like, well, on to the next, on to the next, on to the next. I never took time. Dog. Could never smell my roses because I'm just like, there's always more to it. But when I relinquished and reframed my relationship to control, life began to be a lot more fun. I became a lot more present. Dog, that's a word. Like, that's literally what some of us been talking about today. Mm-hmm. So it was just, the timing is insane.
Listen, but it's always relevant though, because again, like I said, there's always something around the corner, right? Like, shoot, we some of us are in the point in your lives where like your roles in your family are changing. Yeah. But like, if you ain't paid attention to any of those customs, what are you holding on to? How are you honoring their legacy, right? And also, are you doing inventory in which y'all need to like divorce too? Because some of those practices you're gonna get rid of. But nonetheless, though, holding on to like the legacy in those brighter moments, like what are you holding on to as life is transitioning you? When you having that winning season, what is keeping you sustained during that winning season, right? Yeah. Because sometimes like you be in a state of just constant wins, and then like you just might feel like you drop. Mm-hmm. But you might forget, like, no, you still that guy. Yeah. You know? And so you gotta be a little bit more present. Take inventory of yourself.
I appreciate that. Shit. Okay, let me he was talking, I said, huh. I feel like he's talking to me. That's getting real loud right now. I like that. No, I appreciate that though, because that's that's an important reminder, especially because I feel like, again, so many of us are trying to figure out what's next. We're not even appreciating, like, dog, look at what you got in front of you. I have a fully stacked team, some amazing guests, dope ass people in this room, right? And it's also an intergenerational conversation as well. I got 2 students who are currently with me right now. One of them is sitting there as a production assistant. Met Daniel on some random tip playing freaking, what was it, Tekken?
Yeah, it was Tekken.
I thought I was going in ready to cook him. Plot twist, he's very good at that game. I was cooked. I said, all right, I think I beat Daniel one time out of like the 8 rounds we went.
But now look at y'all.
But if I wasn't present in that moment back in February, I would not have this amazing producer, producer person, like friend, and like just overall good person. And so it's just that reminder of like, being present and being intentional with those moments, not trying to calculate everything is like super important. So yeah, thank you. That was these niggas got good hot takes today. What am I keeping it a bean about today? If I'm gonna keep it a bean, stop celebrating mediocrity. Ooh. It just gets on my nerves. I'm at the point. And sometimes I'm just like, I want give grace. Let some black people be able to be mediocre because it's a privilege to be mediocre and still fail up. I do appreciate black people who can fail up. And I'm tired of witnessing white mediocrity in my face. This election had me fully triggered because I'm just like, oh, mediocrity will always persist no matter what. Mm. And there's something to say about it. But for me, I just get into a space where I get super frustrated because I'm just like, I'm witnessing people around me be able to fail up. And part of me also struggles with like, I don't have the ability to play the politics of higher ed. I don't do well. I know how to do it. I don't like to do it. And that's the problem. But my face tells 1,000 stories. And so I just be like, no, I know everybody else is seeing the same thing. We're all wondering the same thing. So why is nobody saying anything? Right. And so like, there's been like this idea that professionalism means I need to fall on the sword for those who are above me. And in terms of positions and stuff like that. And I just don't have it in me to do that. I'm like, no, because this means I need to essentially dumb myself down or like make myself small for a person's comfort. And I'm just like, if you want me to do my job and do my job well, I make you look good at the end of the day. But right now it's one of those just like, oh, this is the bureaucracy. This is what we got to play in order to make sure everybody feels comfortable and this illusion of a system is actually functioning when in reality it's not. It's a different politic I need to navigate, and I don't know how sustainable it is. So mediocrity does not persist in my presence. I don't want it to persist in my presence. I would say that. But fuck that system. I'll be over it. Go ahead. What you gotta say?
Should I say it?
I will say, I hear you,
Yes.
but that's life in and of itself.
Facts.
We're always bartering with the world to like, who's willing to give? As an entrepreneur, as a creative, you're always bartering with the world. The difference, I think, here is in how you, outside of the context of like higher ed, is the fact that in a podcast space, right, you do this based upon your principles and values.
Absolutely. This is the space that is curated, that is mine. I don't have to negotiate self.
Yep.
I don't have to like quiet my politic. Like, this is why I love, and I like you naming that, because like this is the space where I let loose the most. Like, you know, you can't tell me anything. I'm aligned with my purpose. I don't have to be Mr. Richards. I don't have to be the staff member. I don't have to be a son. I don't have to. My role is to be me and invite people into the world that I created.
But who said that you couldn't be yourself and also still excel in that space?
Oh, dog, I'm still fully myself, and no matter what space I enter. But I also recognize there are some
politics.
There are some politics I don't have to. Yeah, that's the thing, and I think that's the consequence of showing up as authentically yourself
for sure
in those spaces, because it's just like, as much as I show up as myself, I also recognize like I'm excellent at my job. There's no numbers alone. I'm excellent at my job, and I also recognize because of me being really good at my job, I can take the punches of what it means to show up as my most authentic self and saying the things I need to say.
Yeah.
Right. But I understand the consequences that come with being your authentic self in those spaces. Not everybody is attuned to that, but that's also a different level of that shifts the narrative around what professionalism traditionally has looked like.
Gotcha.
And I think that's very jarring for a lot of people who are used to, well, no, like you don't speak out of turn when you speak out of turn. You don't do this when you do this, X, Y, and Z. Yeah. So I think that's what it is. I still get frustrated, even though I can acknowledge like how I show up is my choice.
Gotcha. And
there are consequences that show up with that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Could live with that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, because it's cool. I like having, like, I also enjoy like having these conversations with you, because I think we've been on two different sides of the aisle, same coin, whatever the case may be. But it was always a perspective that I appreciated, because it was always just like, I look at you as somebody who maintained authenticity and still was able to excel in leadership in a way that you do as well. And so I kind of see that. I'm just like, no, it's a possibility. You're really a possibility model for some niggas, for real. Yeah. And I guess I'll start there, and then I'm gonna backtrack into like how you became who you were, and who you are today. But how did you find that space? Because you've been in leadership for a few years, and so what were some of the negotiations that you were willing to kind of be like, all right, I can play around with this, but what then were also your non-negotiables?
I think that I've always been very clear about like what I stood for and what I value. I believe in the unadulterated possibilities of what young people can do and create when given an opportunity, right? Wholeheartedly. I'm gonna go to hell and high water to make sure I can deliver on that. But also too is I just had to learn to just stand on what your true on who you are. Yeah. Stand on how you show up in the classroom, right? And so like I learned very early on, right, that when I started teaching, when I taught, I taught in a way that did not replicate what I experienced as a child. Yeah. So I'm gonna make this class the most dopest experience ever. And I'm gonna also try to fill all the gaps. So in my classes, like I taught everything in centers, right? Yeah. And so because I'm like I'm teaching 5th grade, and I got a kid who on a kindergarten level and a kid on the 5th grade level. And I'm like, how I'm supposed to do this? I can't do all this at one time, right? So I said it makes sense. Put y'all in groups, right? So you're gonna go over here, you're gonna go over here, go over here, right? Y'all gonna go do this while I'm with this group over here doing that, while I'm sitting with this group, right? Yeah. So you're going to get the lesson. I'm gonna work with you and scale that, and while y'all gonna practice some other skills in these other centers and spaces. But I did that because it kept the kids' attention. Yeah. Right. And it also was prescriptive, right? Now I know that I was differentiating and doing facilitating, circle, all that. Right. So I know that now, but I didn't know that in the beginning, right? And so I just always been a very instinctive person to like do what you believe. What I believe about kids is that kids have the ability to give feedback and to create, right? And that when we're going to talk about designing a policy, they also have to be a part of that policy making process. Yeah. There has to be a feedback loop there. that you have to look at the whole child when you're talking about like what we're about to do with this child.
Yeah.
And so I just learned that you stand on business and don't be afraid to fail.
Yeah.
And know that there is going to be times in which not be willing to like die for your principles. Like those are the things of my values and what I believe in.
Yeah.
And I'm not willing to let that go for the sake of a job.
Yeah.
Because what I do is produce results.
That's a word. Yeah.
Like I create results. So like everywhere I've been effective.
Right.
And because our politics on the line, I ain't got no knock on me.
Right.
And that's something I grew up, my family helped instill in me as a young person. Like who you are is not predicated based upon what the world says.
Yeah.
Right.
I love that. Yeah.
Not always easy.
Yeah.
Not going to say that, but it's not.
Easy.
But you have to be very sure about who the hell you are.
Yeah.
If you're going to be in anybody's leadership role.
That's a fact, and I appreciate you naming that because like that finding your balance of who you are and then versus what the world tells you you're supposed to be, but also to have that name for you at such a young age is like super important. And that's where I really wanted to take it back to is just like before all of this, like who was Ray growing up in Philly?
Oh man, I was curious. I think as a kid, I think I was always an athlete. I played basketball up until like 8th grade.
Mm-hmm.
When I moved to North Philly from East Falls to North Philly, shout out to all y'all. When I moved from East Falls to North Philly, I started playing football.
Mm-hmm.
But I also was a kid who also like every good thing in my neighborhood where I lived, I knew I didn't want to like to continue living in that space. There was some real challenges there. I just wanted something different for myself. And so I just started to latch on to things that I thought were positive and just try to explore that. So I got real curious about everything.
Yeah.
From Boy Scouts to the rec center in my neighborhood where I was learning to play chess.
Yeah.
To playing in basketball tournaments and traveling.
You did AAU too.
It wasn't even AAU. It was called Hoop It Up, right? Like that was a tournament. Like so, like that was.
I just did work for them. Solid organization. Yeah.
AAU was actually at that time like only the elite of the elite play AAU. I don't know if it operates under those same conditions. I think they've increased opportunities to be more inclusive. I don't know too much. So
I was the elite of the elite. Stop playing. I was dunking it by the 8th grade. Yeah.
No, I was just playing like little Hoop It Up, but like I just continue to try to just be a learner and learn how other people was living so that I could try to create a world in which I could see myself.
That resonates deeply because that's how it was for me growing up. I was just like, all right, I know the world I'm growing up in. I love what Reading, PA was able to teach me.
Yep.
But I also recognize like it also taught me what I didn't want.
Yep.
And for me, I was doing AAU and being able to travel and see myself in different states and see how other people were living. Yep. College was the big piece to kind of put that into practice and like really learn around like.
So all my refund checks went.
Huh?
All my refund checks went to traveling.
Okay.
All my refund checks went to traveling, but that also gave me a network of people who also helped me like see a different way of living, right? Mm-hmm. Like I met friends who are friends to this day who like their family structure, it was just a different family structure, a different opportunity right there, right? And it's all love on both sides, but I saw something different. Like, you know what? I could tap in, I can lean in. Yeah. But then I also use the same folks that I kick it with and we can like discuss things with. I can text like, yo, we adults now, like how we working this insurance, what stocks we got going, right? Like these are the conversations we now get to have. We growing up now, folks are like talking about kids and things, right? Like, so it's really dope to be able to like see the fruit of those investments, to go spend time with somebody and how much you can learn from a group of people while just being in community.
See, that's fire. And that's what that's the space I really want to lean into, because as you were experiencing all of these different things, your worldview is expanding. Mm-hmm. But as our worldview expands, I feel like that's also what creates a really large sense of self. And so first, when did you find your fashion sense? And it's all gonna come back. I'm just like, this is such a well-dressed human being. Like every piece, he's the type that like, let me lay these clothes out for the week and just let you know that I'm ready.
I don't. I promise you. This wasn't even picked out today. I changed clothes, man. It was hot in that building today. I had to go home and take a shower. No, that comes from my grandmom though. I think it comes from my grandmom and growing up in church.
Yeah.
And here's the cool part. We was poor growing up. Like we didn't have a whole lot, but the thrift store is still one of my favorite stores. My grandma to this day will tell you like thrift store is always going to be the store he's going to shop in. I don't care how much money you give him. Because I still be calling like, yo, I found this dope bag, or I found this jacket, or what have you. So it started there growing up in church. You always got to go outside looking like you are somebody.
Yeah.
That was like what was preached at my house. My uncles was always fly. My aunts was always fly. And it just, being fly was a thing.
Yeah,
and I just think that's what it means to be black, though. Like, we are a dope group of people. But yeah, I just think they started in church, though.
Yeah.
To simply answer your question.
That's dope. All right, come on, Sunday's Best. Stop playing with. No, I think that's fire, though, because I always see like clothes as an extension of self-worth, and how people are able to show up in different ways. And so even to expand a worldview, but also be able to play around with like different fashions, to me is dope. So I'm just like, all right, so what's Ray putting on today?
But here's the thing that people don't ever know. Like, also my style also is sometimes a protest, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of my shirts, like this shirt today is a Grateful Apparel. I'm not a sponsor by them, but shout out to y'all.
Yeah.
I didn't even talk about the hat, but nonetheless, we'll get there.
Oh no,
but like the shirt, right? Like, but this is a message, right? To always remind it to be grateful, right? At the moments and times, like when I wear sneakers, especially when I'm at work with my suits, right? That's part of like where I blend like the culture with also how I'm letting my kids see like other layers of yourself.
Yeah.
Right. Because it was a point in time my kids used to get afraid when someone in a suit came in. And I came from the school of teaching where like teachers wore a shirt and tie and jackets. Like that was the thing, and shoes. And then when I got into another system, I said, at least on Fridays, you're going to see me in my J's.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want them to continue to feel like their genius was modified based upon what a person had on.
Yeah.
So my greatness shows up in my J's, is going to show up in the New Balances, is going to show up in that tailored suit, custom suit, and things. So, you know, but, you know, I've been blessed to get to that point, but like, I do that like intentionally, right?
Yeah.
The pins that are usually on my lapel, there's usually a protest up there somewhere, right? Highlighting a figure that someone probably don't know about, or a message that's how I feel for the day, or like honoring legacy. So, every little piece is a little bit thought about.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Like that's intentionality is like so important. I said intentionality, just intention is important. Intentionality is actually a real word, but we're gonna use it today. The fuck. I was an English teacher, by the way. So
if my language is messed up, I didn't like teaching English.
I didn't do that.
That was not my subject.
Look, I said different. But I appreciate a lot of that because getting to know a little bit around like who you were growing up, your ideas around your Sunday's Best, but your fashion, but the intention that you put behind your clothes as well. It also, to me, resonates a lot more because now you are also extending out your world a little bit more. So as you were traveling and you're doing all of this, you found this attachment to nature. And so like a city kid, I'd be like, I'm a city boy through and through. Like if it was Avatar The Last Airbender, I'm a Basi say Earthbender. I'm not out. Yeah, no. Okay. Nothing bad happens in Basi say. Okay. I said I'm a city boy through and through. I'm not gonna be no swamp bender, no none of that. Like, don't catch me on the countryside. I know where my lane is.
Yo.
But when it comes to you as well, you found an appreciation and almost like a peace and presence that happens when you're out in nature.
For sure.
Which is, you know, how we get black and outside. So he said clothes are intentional. Look at that hat. Okay, stop playing with him.
Shout out to my wife. This is a gift to me. She's dope like that.
That's lit.
She dope.
Shout out to the wife, cause she a real one. She really a real one.
She the real MVP. She was in the gym.
Huh?
She was in the gym.
Yeah.
She was there.
Yeah.
In the gym.
Wow.
Real life.
That's fire though. Cause how long has it been?
We're
gonna get back to the black and outside, but yeah.
We've been married now 4 years. We've been rocking like over 15 years now.
That is amazing.
Wow, yeah.
Okay. Shout out to Black Love.
It's been a minute.
Shout out to Black Love. Okay.
Listen, we've been growing up. We've been growing up together. We've seen a few different versions of ourselves. So, it's been kind of dope though.
That's fire. Like I think that because you get to see a person in all iterations. You get to see me at some of my worst moments and still being able to love me and see me through that. It's like that's such a beautiful thing. Like,
it is. Yeah, I would just say like I think we talked about this a little bit earlier, but like I think sometimes you have to persist a little bit past it, right? Because the reality of it is, you ever ask yourself like how easy was it for you to change when it was your diet, if it was like, yo, I gotta be read in the morning, if it's I gotta get to the gym, how hard has it ever been for you to commit to a thing?
Yeah.
Right. And so think about that, magnify it like by 10 times.
Yep.
Because you have this one person who's going through these cycles in themselves internally,
Yep.
and you're also going through that together simultaneously and trying to keep reconnecting and keep doing it over and over. And that's a process, right? And so you have to learn to give yourself, you got to give yourself like a lot of grace, and give your partner grace. And I think we're still learning that, right?
Yeah.
Not without fault, but that's what's real.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. And y'all know I ain't no relationship podcast, but that was a word I was trying to tell people. There's no 50-50 over here, no $200 dates. But like that was
don't pop no balloons out on me.
Okay, don't do that.
Chill, mind your business.
Ain't too much. It's what? Pop. What?
Yeah, I wasn't here for that.
Okay. I'd be like, dog, I didn't even talk yet. What are we talking about?
Right, I didn't do anything.
Like, that's crazy. Dog, but I appreciate that because there's a level of support there. But also that idea of supporting the thing that you love. Because I remember when you first showed me the logo for Black and Outside.
Yo, I designed it next to you.
Yeah, quite literally. I said, I know this nigga did not just. And he did. Designed a whole logo next to me and was just like, dog. And I said, this makes the most amount of sense to you as a person, bro. Like, I said, he is hiking. He loves nature, but you also embody it. And something that I always talk around, especially as Black men, sometimes we just need to bear witness in order to know what is possible. And like for me, what you do is allow other Black men to bear witness to like what they can be in nature and what it means to like step away from the busyness of the city. Our last episode was talking around like the intention behind farming, right? Yep. And I think there's a level of presence that happens with that. So one, where did your love of nature come from? And then, especially growing up in Philly, where did that love of nature come from? And then what does nature provide you today?
Yeah. So actually like just the full story, like circle. For me, like, I guess this part resonated or came about in the last couple of years, honestly, at the transition. And I was in a space of like, I found myself, I wasn't working. But I also wasn't strapped for cash, thank God. I found myself in a space where I had no meetings to go to. I had no real responsibility. I had to eat, walk the dog, and I would do chores around the house. Not a bad deal, right?
Okay, that sounds like a house husband to me.
I was. Oh, listen. My wife knows. I'm waiting for her to make partner. I kid. But nonetheless,
a little truth behind every joke.
A little truth. But nonetheless, I just felt myself with no real responsibilities. Just also asking myself, who am I now? Yeah. Because all of these other parts of my identity that I tapped and loved in so much and had so much accessible was really cool. But I'm not doing that no more. Like, so a huge part of my life is like on hold right now. Yeah. And so I had to like develop like, how do I find my way back, right? Yeah. And that was actually the title of my last leadership story journey I shared, was Find Your Way Back. And nature was an outlet for me. Yeah. I would just wake up days and I would go for a hike and I would take my journal with me. And I would like sometimes just sit out there and vibe out for hours, right back in the woods of Hicken. Because as a kid, my uncle would take us there on weekends and things like that to just kick it. And I was older, so he was like, yo, make sure nobody pass the line, be safe, He'll take a nap and chill. And me and my cousin just be chilling, just making stuff. And it was just so peaceful and serene. So when I found myself back in this space, I was like, cool, I'm gonna go. But I think now I want to just like capture moments, right? And we often talk, because you're like, why don't you post more? I'm like, because this is personal. Yeah. Because like parts of it is still just a very personal, reflective piece for me, right? Yeah. I just recently started getting into more of like sharing and putting voiceovers to videos. And it's still something I need to also pull off my GoPro card. But yeah, it's parts of the journey that I just kind of go and tap out as a place that like one realigns me with nature, right? In alignment with God, because oftentimes I feel like we move too far. We're moving out of season. Yeah. And being back in that space, it kind of realigns you with the seasons and also lets you see the beauty that happens there. Because even in the winter, and you go like hiking somewhere, like, yo, the ice crystals and like the frost on the trees, like that is so damn majestic. It's crazy to see the leaves turn colors, to see how the ant benefits from the tree. Yeah. Or how these ecosystems exist. it puts things back into perspective when we come back into our busy lives of slowing down and moving at the pace of nature and not stop trying to like run a race ahead of its time.
Right.
And so like that's why now is a part of like my wellness plan, if you would, that I have to be in nature at least once a month. I commit to being there, and I've been A1 with that joint all year.
I love that.
Yeah,
That
every
once a
month.
like,
And I think that you gotta do, because I think people talk about like self-care as this like radical thing that you do versus like, no, it's the little things you do intentionally to maintain your well-being.
Yeah.
Right. And so part of for me is like going back to that place that gives me clarity and give me peace.
Yeah.
Because you know what the world is doing when I'm out here being a leader and all those other things, it's it's throwing hands, right?
Nah, truly.
In order for me to keep up with the punches, I gotta catch my breath.
Yeah.
And so that's the place I go to catch my breath.
That is dope. Thank you for naming that, because that's something I know even for me, like my daily practice is my 10-10-10 rule. So I get up, I'll take my time to brew my coffee, make it, French press it, do what I need to do. I will catch up on news and stuff like that, whatever. But then I will stretch in the morning, and then I'll journal for 10 minutes of just like, one, telling myself it's going to be a great day, but also just like reflecting and thinking around the things I want to achieve, just so I have like those little goals. But like that first, like, that's why I really actually get up in the morning. I'm a morning person in solitude, but I legit am just like, I need, once I get up at 5:30, that first 30 minutes is to myself before the rest of the world needs anything out of me, because we work in service of other people. And so like those moments to be able to like just sit with yourself, it's always a little bit more difficult. So I appreciate you naming like you get that dedicated like time, you're once a month, and those practices in between too.
Bro, I have like what I call now like my 5 keys. Like it's my 5 keys to like being my best version of me. And I think I actually attribute a lot of it right now to like me just feeling good all the fucking time right now. One is around like being in nature, committing to once a month. You know, I bought a car that allows me to go further.
Yes, you did.
I'm installing some lights on it. All the stuff that I wanted for Christmas was related to my car, so I can continue to be out in that space. There's my physical well-being, right? Like I've worked out most of my life, but it's always been a spot for me to tap out. So I commit to being at least 3 days a week. But also I would say then community, being with my family and friends, the people that's gonna love you and see you as your true self, the people that's gonna like when you like, yo, I'm good, and like, nah, you lying, or like the person that's like, yo, like, Fro, holla at me, lo, come talk to me, or the person that just sends you that message, which I do appreciate you often do, sending the message to try to keep a brother afloat. Then rest. Like we don't know when to just say stop. Like you gotta honor those times, right? Get off the laptop at night, cut it out at the time. Cause sometimes like you trying to punch through another 4 hours. If you go to sleep, you can get it done in 30 minutes. Like
it really is that.
Like sometimes it's really that simple, but we like, oh, I'm gonna be on a part of the grind. Like, no, go rest. Take a moment.
The grind is just fucking the bootstraps and blackface. You don't need it. You don't need it all the time. Like there's moments and times, but I think, and that makes me appreciate the conversation we had even before we started recording, niggas, I swear, I got it. But even before we started recording was outside, you were just like, I'm in a really good space. It's not any extremes high, any extreme lows. You were just good. And I was just like, yeah, there is a beauty and stillness and like having those moments to just be able to be present in the good. Because we are always just like, hey, the ball can drop at any point in time, but to be able to be present and not always just be like, all right, what's going to fall? What's going to fall? What's going to fall? Let me appreciate what's here now. So like, that's.
Because it's something to learn in those moments and seasons. Because like life will take you on these roller coaster rides that you can't really protect yourself from, but you got to have, again, like I said, like ways in which you can like take a moment and like tap back in with yourself, evaluate who you are. That's why I say it's like so important to just like study yourself in every season. So like when things get out of whack, you know how to get right back. When you're right back as a part of your day to day, it gets so much better. And that's what I'm learning. I think that's what this season is teaching me right now. So
I love that.
I'm grateful.
Yeah, dog. No, I appreciate that lens as well. Because like that, like what is this season teaching you right now? Right? My season's currently teaching me to be as audacious as possible. And like that's something I don't mind being able to take up space. But I've never been the most confident in my own personal talents. There are things I know at work, I know I can do. I know I can do well. But like to be able to put something out there that is as personal as this brainchild that I have, that is putting out a brand where I'm just like, is this gonna do well? It's not gonna do well. I don't know, but I gotta do it. Right. And so just like trying to just lay a lot of stuff bare. I was like, I wanted 2029 to just be one, it's a transitional year, but what does it mean to take all of those things I was scared to do, all the things I made excuses for, and just lay it all out there and just do it. And so like this year is just like part of it, you know, a year of yes, but like it's really just how can I be as audacious as possible and see what works, because these are things I've always wanted to do and get out there. So yeah, we out here. But before we get out of here, Black and Outside.
Yep.
Dog.
What's up?
Dog. So we talked around. You created that logo right next to me. We're out in the daytime at a good party in the Sculpture Garden. Okay? Yep. I remember the day. And then you said you had like this moment of just like, oh, who am I outside of the things that I do? What is Black Outside representing for you in this time, and what do you want people to get out of it?
I think ultimately, like, it's just like one is just an insight to like another version of lens of myself. I hope that what people can glean from it is that you don't have to stay within the bounds of what the world has already confined you to. Black men outside. Right, but also I want to give like a lens into what it means for a Black man to kind of tap out of that, always being present in the city, to kind of again tap back into like God's rhythm, to like see how His glory just shows up, and hopefully that it reflects back in your life to help you see that like even in your darkest and your bestest of moments, like He's still creating, He's still making things happen, because in all those seasons of the outside, creation is always at work. I love that. And so it gives me that. I share a little bit about like how I tap out for my wellness. I've been getting into breathing, and so sometimes I'll just stop out there and just breathe. Force myself to just meditate on the sound of leaves, to just slow down, close the tabs in my mind, to just so that when I get back, I can be well. And so I'm hopefully just giving people like an opportunity to experience life differently and show like you don't always have to be a part of the rat race. Sometimes tap out, get back into the rhythm of nature. And you'll see how God is working.
That's a fucking word, bro. Like
and I didn't even think about that before today. So
see, nah. You know what, bro? Dog, no, that is so fire, and I appreciate you like naming that, because you bring together love, you bring together your spirituality, you bring together you, and you allow people to all be in there. And it's also understanding, like, before we get out of here, like, you're not doing this alone. Like, you also just went on a fire, like, nature trip as well.
It's funny you said that, because on the way here, I got an email. So I'm a shout out to an organization called Them Boys in the Woods. It is a Black men's wellness and outdoor group, and they take Black men on retreats across the country, largely all expense paid. And so it's a dope opportunity. And actually, I'm gearing up for my next adventure with them. I shared a couple of workouts for it, but not a whole lot of them. I'm going mountaineering in Lake Placid, New York.
Mountaineering?
Yeah. So that's, for those who don't know, it's hiking on the side of a mountain in the winter. All the things, right? So Lake Placid, also where the Olympics train. So the homie was like, yo, are you afraid to go down the ramp thing? I said, not really. I'm not on those skis, so I'm fine. He said, because you're going to have to learn how to brace your fall in the event of an avalanche. I was like, oh, shit. But that sounds so cool.
And that's why I keep my ass in the city. I said the avalanche, natural disaster.
I'm like, yo, like, so.
Bracing my fall. I already don't like the snow. So what are you talking about?
But it was cool. But I was telling my wife last night, like, yo, I don't know if I'm able to go, because like the gear for this is far more expensive than when I pay for like snowmobiling and all that other goofy stuff I like to do. But they was like, yo, we might have some sponsors who's about to kick in and sponsor the rest of y'all gear. So like, don't buy nothing else. We might be able to bless you up. So I'm really excited for this next journey. Black boy going mountaineering. So I'm gonna have the GoPros going. They have their video team, and so hopefully I'll be able to share parts of that as well. Of what it's like, because I don't know what to expect, but I'm just like also knowing that whatever happens, I will meet another version of myself along the way. That's the coolest part about some of this foolishness.
It's fucking fire. There are so many things I loved about this conversation. There are so many things I can't wait till after this experience that just have you back on the show again, just to talk about, because the amount of reflection, the amount of intention, self-awareness that you have, but the best part is like your openness to figuring out, being curious about who you are going to be. I think so many of us get so stuck in our ways of like, this is who I'm supposed to be, this is who I was told I'm supposed to be, even specifically as Black men, we're always just like, you need to be a provider, you need to be a protector, you need to be this, you need to be this, you need to be this. But in reality, it's just like, no, who was I as a Black boy? And how does that still exist today? And how do I nurture that Black boy that may have got lost by the noise of the world? And like, I love that you use nature to block that noise out and reconnect with self. Good.
I'm going to share this. I wrote this. It's not, I don't write poetry, so I don't do that. But it says, you are already enough. You were commissioned for God's purpose at the time of your conception. Where you go, the blessing also follows. You just have to simply be. Right? It's to your same point. Oftentimes we're always trying to create ourselves. We're trying to become something. And actually, like your story, your existence in and of itself is a gift.
Yeah.
You just have to just show up and trust that you are a gift. And that's why, like, I'm learning, like I said, like, keep looking in, because you do dope shit all the time.
Yeah.
And you don't even know that you're doing it, because you're, again, trying to become something when you've never been asked to be anything.
Yeah.
So, be.
He drops multiple gems. That's the first time he read something. And then he ended off with just some dope stuff. Dog, thank you.
Appreciate you, bro.
Nah, like, seriously, like, thank you for coming on the show and telling your story. But thank you for just dropping gems where people are able to kind of take different pieces. Because what y'all don't see on our side is the fact that this entire team and audience out here is just like, damn, yo, you did. Like, there's a reaction that is happening, and it's a room full of Black men, and being able to kind of see the ways in which they've connected with you, to see the ways in which, like, they've connected with Greg and everybody in this space. I think that's so important. And what I loved around, like, both of these episodes was, like, this commitment to adventure, this commitment to learning about self, and also understanding, like, I don't need to be one way. The more I learn about the world, the less that I know, and that's a beautiful thing to experience. So, dog,
that was good, yo.
I appreciate you. Yeah, that's straight up. You thought you was the only one. No, but seriously, dog, like, thank you. I value you. I see you. You know, my brother. You, if you need anything, appreciate I'm always in your corner. Like, yeah.
My guy.
You already know. Dog. Let the people know where they can find you, and then we're going to get up out of here.
Yeah, you can check me out on my IG, Ray, RAY, RPA. Or you can check me out, Black and Outside, BLK and AND Outside. Check me out on the gram. Check me out on Facebook, Raymond Pace. Yeah, and all other things. Yeah, I'll holla at y'all.
Ain't nothing to worry. You were trying so hard to get this. He was doing his best. He said,
yeah, that part.
All right, y'all. I'll see y'all next week. I appreciate y'all. Make sure to follow Ray at everything that he is doing. And don't be scared to be Black and Outside.
Holla at me.
Peace.